Hello everyone. Before watching this video, I will recommend you to watch my previous linked video in which we have discussed in-proc session state mode. I will give you a fast recap that we have named the five state modes of the session in which we have discussed in-proc session mode in detail, and today we will discuss state server mode. As you see that in-proc session mode is a default session mode. Also we see a global.ax file, how we created and where we find the two events, that is session underscore start and session underscore end. And if any modification have made in global file or a web config file, the session data lost. So overall conclusion was that in-proc session mode is a very fast storing mechanism, but only applicable for the small web application. And on restart of the IAS or application domain is recycled, session data lost. In this video, we will use the same programming example which I have created in the previous video. So, please must watch the previous video. Here I have described the general workflow of the session so that you can understand sessions more easily. That a client make a request or store some information and send it to the web server. So the web server will create a secure ASP.NET session ID and store in the state provider. This is the session ID which I have already display you in the video 1. That is here. This is, I'm talking about this session ID that is unique and secure. So web server create a ASP.NET session ID and store it to the state provider. So the state provider will separately deal with the client data and uh, also store it. After some time, client generate the next request, or you can say again generate a request. This time web server use that ASP.NET session ID and pass it to the state server, and state server fetch data according to that unique ASP.NET session ID. So it's very simple. Now we are coming to our topic, that is outproc or state server session mode. State server is it uses a Windows server and that is independent of IIS server. Session state is usually managed by the ASP.NET underscore state.exe. We will see both are running on the same system, but it's outside the main application domain. If you restart your ASP.NET process or you restart IS server, your session data will be alive. What are the disadvantages? That this causes numerous drawbacks due to overheads of the serialization and reserialization involved. Also, it increases the cost of the data access because every time the user retrieves the session data, application hits a different process. In this slide, you see that this is IE server, and inside IE server we see application domain, and in the application domain is the web server, and web server store here a session data, that is memory object for the in-proc session mode. But in the state server, this web server communicate with the Windows server, that is ASP.NET underscore state.exe, in which it store all the user session data. What we need to do is open the Windows services. Here type Windows This is the ASP.NET state service. Usually it's set to the manual, and you need to start it by right click. Here you can see the start button, but you can modify it to the startup type automatic. So when the system start, it automatically turns on. But for this session I will manually start it. It's started, and you just need to update web config file. That is the web config file. In the I'm using the previous example in which I define session state mode in proc. For the state server, comment this. For the state server, we use mode state server. Here timeout, I'm giving it 30 minutes. And the most important property is the state connection string, in which we define TCP IP, that is localhost, the local URL, the local IP, and the port. By default it is 42424, but you can change it. And cookieless false. From where you can change this port, type here registry editor. See, you can find this in actually it's have a five folders, in which I have opened hash key local machine, annual systems, services, ASP.NET states. You can copy or see this path, and in parameter section, this is the port. You can modify it from here. It's a hexadecimal. You can convert it to decimal and update its value. But for this session I will not update because it's a beginner. Of course it's for beginners. So I have updated and saved this file. I'm giving a review of the code, in which we have created a empty in web application, and after that create a web form in which there are two fields, that is username and password, and a submit button. This submit button will create a on click event, and in code behind file I made a very simple code in which I created two sessions, that is username and password, and stored both text box data in the relevant session field, and we redirect to the main page. Now create a second web form page, that is main page, and in code behind on the page load event I applied that if the session data is Sidra and the password is Sidra, then it will write welcome my name, and if not, it will set that username and password not match. And if the session lost, it will print the object's instance is null because session is lost. So I'm editing here a little bit. Dot message. So refresh application on IS server. This is the URL. Here I type Sidra and Sidra. Submit. Welcome to Siddha. I'm opening the command prompt. Run as administrator. Write the command IIS reset. Refreshing the page. As you see, when I updated web config file, no session data lost. It retrieved my session data from the ASP.NET underscore state exe. But if I change or shift to my previous mode, that is in proc mode, refresh the app, refresh the page, Sidra, Sidra, submit. Now I'm again resetting the IE server. Refresh the page. See, null reference exception. Object reference not set to the instance of the object. So as you see, this process is very easy. I also share the path from which you can update port. So I hope it clear your all points. In the next video, we will discuss SQL Server session state mode. Till then, bye bye.